here we are mid-October, and up till now it has still felt like summer out, or autumn as I heard it called. But yesterday we got a big storm come through here and got about 3.5 inches of rain, and that calmed it, cooled it right down. Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I come in, please? Excuse me. But whether or not it has felt like autumn, thankfully the animals have been able to sense that it is, because these goats are going to be ready to breed soon. But since they have last kidded, I haven't been able to see their heat cycles at all. They've been completely silent. But thankfully, with the fall season being upon us, their heats have been a bit stronger and much easier to see. And this one, Daisy here, is in heat currently. She's been screaming her head off all day. Haven't ya? So, very thankful that I'm able to catch it. She is about a week later than I expected, because I was able to catch her last cycle too. Usually goats go about 21 days between cycles, which would have put her last Friday, and today's Wednesday. So she went a little long this time, but I'm glad we caught it, because her next cycle will be time to start breeding her for spring babies, which I'm so excited. I kind of miss having babies. I didn't really enjoy so much trying to find them homes, but having them around was really fun. What? She's still my baby, if you couldn't tell. She's definitely not baby size anymore, but still my baby. What about you? How are you doing? You good? I'm also realizing that I had intended to give a garden tour this summer. I don't think I ever got around to it. So I'm going to show you what's left of the summer garden. We did finally get this beautiful gate on my garden, which has been great. We didn't actually put any kind of latch on here yet. We really need to do that. We've just been tying it with some baling twine, which works. But some kind of a hook would be easier. But so far, with the gate and then the cinder blocks around, we've been able to, and chicken wire, we've been able to keep the rabbits and the chickens and everything else out. So that's been really, really nice. Okay, over here in this first quarter to our left here, just inside the gate, you can see we have tons of flowers over here. These have been so fun. They've just, some of them you've fallen down, so you can't even see all of them from this angle. I'll show you from the other side. But they've just been so beautiful all summer, and you can see them really good from the house when you look out the window, and the bees and the butterflies have been loving them. We had monarchs this year that we've never had before, and all sorts of different butterflies, some really huge bumblebees that are just gorgeous. And of course all the honeybees, and it's just been great having these in here. I really enjoyed it. But anyways, this is our dwarf tamarillos. When I read dwarf on the seed packet, I thought that meant that the plant was dwarfish, but it's not. I since learned that these are also called tomato trees. Yeah, and in a lot more southern climates, these actually can grow to be like 15 feet tall. Here they will die off with the cold, but yeah, so that was fun and interesting. But what these are actually like a little berry here, and they're kind of a tropical thing. They have really sweet tropical flavor, and then the aftertaste is a little kind of a green, slightly bitter taste. So the aftertaste isn't awesome. We don't love that bit. But we've been collecting them throughout the summer and throwing them in the freezer, and we're gonna try to make some jam or jelly with them and see if that takes the bitter out of it. The initial flavor is really good. They're kind of fuzzy like a peach, but they've been fun. They've been a fun little plant to grow. And then we also have all of our peppers right here. We've got some serranos, some Sugar Rush peaches. Those have been doing really awesome. I also have a cherry bomb pepper here that I think was actually supposed to be a dottle. Somehow those seeds got mixed up. I don't know. We also had just one Anaheim, one chocolate pepper, and then a couple varieties of bell peppers. The bell peppers are doing pretty good. These blots with the purple stripes have been really fun. And then the King of the North are just starting to finish up ripening now. But the peppers have done awesome, especially these serranos and the Sugar Rush peach. The Sugar Rush peach are pretty warm. Yeah, it's probably the hottest pepper we've grown, but we've really, especially Mike and I, have really been enjoying those. These cosmos just kind of fell down and took over everything. It got really, really tall and then kind of toppled. But this whole thing was also full of snapdragons. There's still a few in there. You can kind of see them at the end maybe. And we had our melons all planted here as well as Blue Hubbard, but squash vine borers kind of took those all out. There is still a watermelon plant here, and there was a single melon on here at one point, but I don't know what happened to it, or it might be underneath this cosmo. I'm not sure. So melons did not really do well here, but my daughter had planted a watermelon in the front yard, and it like took over half of the yard, and it did really well. So we did still manage to get some watermelons. In this next back corner here, we have some fall peas that are just starting to come on. You can see they're very, very tall, much taller than spring ones usually get. They didn't fill in as well, but we did kind of have a bit of a drought there in August. And as you can tell, I also like weeds galore. Come August, I gave up weeding, and yeah, it's a bit of a jungle in here. But anyways, so that drought also means that a lot of my other fall crops did not come up because I planted them and then forgot to water them, and then it didn't rain. So yeah, but there are a very few Brussels sprouts coming up in here as well. I think there's 3 plants maybe. And then the carrots back there are actually from spring. I went to go pull them and noticed that there were like swallowtail caterpillars all over them. So I decided to just leave them in there till frost. And so they're probably going to be really, really hard and woody at this point. But I'll just throw them in soup or something. He'll be fine. Maybe it's okay. I'm afraid these are just all zinnias right here. Tons and tons of zinnias. Up front here we have some eggplants. There are 3 eggplant plants here. They've been doing really good. We've been finding all sorts of new fun ways to eat eggplant. That's been really good. The rest of this row was onions, which I've pulled already, but this area, if you recall back in spring when we expanded this and put in all that barn bedding, it was really, really wet barn bedding, and I think it was just too acidic right here for those onions to do super well. Most of them were about yay big, so they didn't do super great here this year. So yeah, pulled those, just let that area do its own thing once I pulled them. And then in the back, this is actually part of the squash plants from the trellis. This trellis here, this is what garden dreams are made of. So we have all these lovely purple snap beans growing on this half of the trellis, and I don't remember if I mentioned it on here or not, but before we got the chicken wire around, the rabbits were really bad this year, and I had to replant these beans I think 4 times because the rabbits kept eating them all before they had a chance to grow. So these ones that are actually here were planted quite late in the season, but as you can see, they're doing really well now. They only honestly just started coming on in September, but we've been able to put several jars up, and as you can see, there's still plenty of beans still on here that I need to pick today. And so we're going to be continuing to can these and put them up probably till the frost kills them. So that's great. And then while we did have squash vine borer issues, again, as usual, they knocked out a couple varieties of my winter squash. But as you can see, a couple of them survived. I've kind of always dreamed of having a trellis like this, covered in squash, just hanging down like that. It's beautiful. I love it so much. So as I said, most of the plants wound up getting killed off. We did get several small delicata before that plant finally died. Yeah. But then this Sucrin dewberry, it's a butternut hybrid, which butternuts tend to be fairly resistant to squash vine borers. So I think that helped it a lot. I'm actually not sure how many plants there are of it, because like all the vines are so intertwined, but it is, we're getting so many of these. There's a ton. I mean, just hanging down, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At least 7 just hanging up here, and then there's more down the wall, more in the walking path over here. So, and then I've already picked probably 5. So there's a ton of these. There are so many of these. They're doing great. And then another variety that I was afraid was gonna die, I fought so hard to keep these ones alive, was my brown pumpkins. And they did manage to survive. Even though the squash vine borers tried their hardest, the plants managed to survive, and I have a few coming on, and I'm so excited. They're starting to turn colors now from green to brown, and they are gorgeous. I cannot wait to pick them and bring them inside, because I kind of intentionally pick varieties that are beautiful, because you know I love beautiful food, but they can also double as decor, fall decor that you can then eat. How awesome is that? Over here on the other side of the trellis, there was some lettuce here, but it took a long time to come up, and then it got hot, and so it went bitter. So we never actually were able to harvest any, but it went to seed, so probably next year it'll volunteer. You also can see these little purple flowers. These are the radishes that I planted along both sides of the trellis, intermixed with the squash to help deter the squash vine borers. I don't know if it worked or not, but I just left them in there. I didn't harvest them. And now they're just kind of going to seed, which the bees are liking. And yeah, so that's just kind of there. The garlic was planted right here. As you can see, also very weedy. Usually that's something you plant like now in the late fall, and then you harvest it the following summer. Because we hadn't expanded this part of the garden yet, I didn't get mine planted until early spring. So it didn't really do much. I pulled 1 or 2, but really they were just like one big bulb. They didn't ever develop heads. So I'm going to continue my experiment by leaving them in here over winter and see if they come back next year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yes. So that was the garlic. This next row over here, these are tomatillos, and they are just starting to ripen now, and there's tons of them. Yeah, I don't know if you can see how many there are here. There's a lot. All 3 plants are just dripping with them, and they are just coming ripe, so we're starting to preserve those. I planted some potatoes just on the other side of here. I need to dig them up and see if they actually developed anything or not, because it's about time to harvest those anyways. So I don't know if they did or not. I just kind of threw them in there willy-nilly late in the season. We'll see what happens. And then this okra here, oh my goodness. This okra has been so prolific. We have put so much okra in the freezer. We are set for the year. So lots of okra. There was cucumbers down there behind it. Didn't do too great. And then interplanted underneath here, this is actually parsnips, which I haven't dug them up to see how big they are. I'm kind of waiting until frost so they'll sweeten before I harvest. And this last quarter here is the tomatoes. And as you can see, they're pretty much done for. Most of the plants have just about died off. I actually went through and picked almost everything else that was on the plants just the other day. One, because the plants are dying and it does no good to leave them out here. Two, we were getting that storm, and if you get a bunch of rain after not having any, it will cause your tomatoes to split. So I just went ahead and picked what was left, and they're sitting on the porch finishing ripening up, hopefully. It seems like this whole area didn't have a great year for tomatoes. They just didn't produce as well as they usually do for whatever reason. It's just one of those things, I guess. Really, really wet spring and then dry summer. Really, really hot dry summer. So they didn't do as well as years past, but we were still able to put up several jars of sauce and diced tomatoes. So it'll get us through part of the winter at least. It's better than nothing for sure. And then this one in the very back that you see is still very, very green, and it's actually really loaded still. Those are white currant cherry tomatoes. Those did phenomenal. And they're so sweet and they are delicious, but honestly, I'm getting tired of picking them. So I've just been leaving them on there for the last week or two because there's just so many. But they did really, really well. So, and we have the slicing tomatoes did pretty good. We've had so many tomato sandwiches at this point. I think the kids are tired of them. So, not a bad year. Just definitely not the best we've had. I will say one of the issues we had with our tomatoes this year was raccoons. Because they were coming in here, and any tomato that had the slightest hint of blushing on them, they would eat the red and then just leave the green tops behind. So that didn't help our harvest. So there you go. That's the summer garden. Some things are good, some things are not so good, but that's just kind of the nature of gardening. You never know what the year's going to bring. So we are very, very grateful for the things that did do really well and that we're able to put in. I have so many peppers in my freezer right now, and these plants aren't even done yet. It's great. I probably don't need to plant nearly that many next year because we've just had such an abundance this year. And like I say, with the squash and now the beans, once the rabbits stop eating them, are doing really well. So I'm just super grateful for how God has blessed our garden this year. Look forward to seeing how he's going to move next year. Well, thank you for joining me for this late summer garden tour. It's just about time to start harvesting what's left and clearing up for the winter, getting it ready for next spring. As usual, we will take you along for that ride, and we hope to see you next week. Make sure you subscribe and then hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our videos. If this video has been enjoyable to you, make sure you hit the like button. We'll see you next week.